All right, let's get into it. Today, we're pulling up a chair for a really deep and necessary conversation about a pretty provocative concept, the roasted breadfruit psychosis. We're going to be exploring this fiery link between colonial trauma, racial identity, and mental health in the African Caribbean community, all based on this landmark paper from 1999.
The authors of the paper kick things off with this quote from Toni Morrison. And wow, it just cuts right to the absolute core of what we're talking about. This isn't just about outside pressures, It's about that deep internal conflict that happens when the world around you teaches you to want to be anything but what you are. It really sets the stage for the incredible human stakes we're dealing with here.
So, this idea of the roast breadfruit, where did it even come from? Well, back in 1999, two psychiatrists, Frederick Hickling and Hutchinson, came up with this really powerful metaphor to describe a specific kind of psychological pain they were seeing.
Now, this is so much more than just some clinical term you'd find in a textbook. It's a vivid description of a fractured identity. The roast breadfruit syndrome describes a state where the unbelievable pressure of colonialism and racism makes a person with black skin see the world and, crucially, themselves through a white, Eurocentric lens. It's a profound identity conflict, and it's rooted in a truly brutal history.
Hickling and Hutchinson explain this using the process of literally roasting a breadfruit. Think about it. First, you've got the green breadfruit. That's the whole indigenous self, before colonialism. Then comes the fire, and that fire is the intense trauma of slavery and colonialism. And what's the result? You get a breadfruit that's charred black on the outside, but its inner flesh is still white. This image just perfectly captures the idea, a black external identity that's at war with an internalized white worldview.
So let's talk more about that colonial fire, because to really understand the psychosis, you first have to understand the centuries of intense heat and pressure that created it. This timeline here really shows how that fire was stoked for hundreds of years. It starts with the slave trade, a violent uprooting, a systematic crushing of culture. Then it's followed by colonial rule, which hammers home the idea that European ideals are the only standard for beauty and success. Fast forward to after World War II. Caribbean people migrate to Britain, the so-called mother country, full of hope, only to be met with soul-crushing racism. And in that crucible, all that pressure builds, until by the 1980s, British psychiatry starts reporting what they call an epidemic of schizophrenia among African Caribbeans.
So here's the really crucial question, right? How does this huge historical pressure, this fire, actually turn into severe psychological distress? How does a problem of society and history become a personal, clinical crisis for one person?
Okay, this is incredibly revealing. Look at this. Studies show that African Caribbeans in Britain have these alarmingly high rates of psychosis. But in the Caribbean? No extra risk compared to anyone else. So what does that tell you? The difference isn't the people, it has to be the environment. In the Caribbean, there's cultural validation, there's music, there's religion. In Britain, they face a racist environment where their skin color is constantly used as a sign of inferiority.
And if you need more proof, this slide completely flips the script. We've seen countless studies showing black migrants to white countries have higher rates of schizophrenia, while a 1996 study looked at the reverse, white migrants in Jamaica. And the result? No increased risk. The thinking is that they carry this kind of protective shield of historical power and ownership. It really drives the point home. The damage doesn't come from moving. It comes from being a racial minority in a hostile environment.
And this is where it all boils over. This is what happens when that underlying conflict, the syndrome, finally erupts into a full-blown psychosis. According to Hickling and Hutchinson, this break, this snap, is often triggered by one devastating moment of clarity. The realization that no matter how hard you try to assimilate, the inferiority that a racist society projects onto you is absolutely inescapable.
And this isn't just an abstract idea. The symptoms are a direct expression of this internal war. We're talking about delusions of actually being white, an overwhelming, all-consuming need for acceptance from white society, a deep shame and rejection of one's own culture, even paranoid delusions that other black people are out to get you. It is the tragic logic of the roast breadfruit, the internalized white self turning on the external black self.
So if the roots of this condition are historical, if they're social, what does that mean for treatment? I mean, you can't just medicate the symptoms away, right? That's clearly not going to be enough. We've got to look beyond the diagnosis.
We have to get that these symptoms are not random. The paper calls them the ghosts of plantation logic that are still haunting the mind. What a phrase, right? The psychosis is a direct, though twisted, reflection of the power structures and racial hierarchies that were set up hundreds of years ago during colonialism.
And that brings us full circle, right back to Toni Morrison. The second quote just perfectly captures the heartbreaking endpoint. When your true self is made invisible or worthless by the society you live in, the mind might just be forced to create, to literally hallucinate a new self, just so it can finally be seen. That is the tragic logic right at the heart of this psychosis.
So the crucial point here is that healing needs way more than just standard psychiatry. The paper makes a powerful case for a culturally specific kind of therapy, a therapy that isn't afraid to talk about identity and the history of colonialism and the day-to-day reality of racism. It has to be a therapy that helps a person rebuild their fractured identity from the ground up.
And you know, this really moves us beyond just a diagnosis and into a much bigger and honestly, a much harder question about what healing really means, not just for one person, but for an entire community.
And that's really where I want to leave you. The concept of the roast breadfruit psychosis forces us to ask some huge questions. How does a people even begin to heal from a sense of self that was fractured on purpose over centuries? And how do we all move away from being defined by that old colonial logic, from being roast breadfruit to becoming whole, self-defined individuals? It's a challenging, difficult question for sure, but it's one we absolutely have to keep asking.